Hey, what's up guys and gals? My name is Ricknineg. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a bit since I've done a movie review, so I said let's get right to it. Now, I have to begin with this disclaimer. I'm a huge Batman fan. I don't know how much I could relay that to you, but just believe me, I'm the biggest out there. And so reviewing a movie of his polar opposite, Superman, pretty much enemies, you have to take that into consideration. Although I can tell you that I was like in love as a kid with Christopher Reeve, and what I meant that is I used to watch the first, Christopher Reeve movie with my family, and I watched all of them like as a little kid. I didn't know if they were good or bad, I just know it was colorful. That was Superman to me. And so I really thoroughly enjoyed that. And then I remember watching it live. Was it live? I don't remember. Well, I remember when it was at least on the news or live when they announced that he had, gone over the horse and paralyzed himself or gotten hurt enough to get paralyzed. And I knew how like crazy that was. Like my parents were shocked, everyone was shocked, and we knew that was Superman, and it was like, whoa. So, going to a movie like this, Man of Steel, it was made in 2013. I was a little, apprehensive because I knew the respect that Christopher Reeve had for the character. Yes, it was a little cheesy and so forth, but I mean, it's like going back to the Michael Keaton Batman. It was just so classic, so historic. It was a game changer going back to George Reeves and then seeing Christopher Reeves. And so I had heard of Henry Cavill, I believe, Cavill, excuse me if I mispronounce his name, from the show with Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. He played like his friend and so forth, and I liked him in that. And so I was like, he's pretty good. I like his looks, I like his personality, his attitude. I think it'll work. I think it'll work for Superman. And so I know a lot of people are kind of polar opposite on this movie. Some people really like it and some people don't like it, and kind of passionately don't like it and have their reasons. And so I'm going to talk about what I liked and what I disliked. So getting right into it, I was pretty excited, but I was also nervous about, the negative things I've heard. I don't really know what is the negativity that they're focused on, but I just started watching the movie. I have a few notes here. I was a little scared about the CGI baby face and that weird face that Superman was, but that wasn't in this movie. That comes later. Thank goodness. And so this movie had a lot of exposition on Krypton, and we had great actors. We have Russell Crowe, we have Kevin Costner in the movie, we have just Lawrence Fishburne, I believe. We have just all these great actors who you're expecting this movie to be great because, the better actors are cast, the better the movie. And I really love the idea of Krypton and the whole exile of the General Zod and so forth. And Michael Shannon, I have to tell you, I was a little scared about him as General Zod. I was like, can he pull it off? Does he have the gravitas? Does he have the weight? Does he bring that weight to the character, that strength? And I believe he does. I think Michael Shannon was amazing in this movie. I think there was one part where he was just like screaming and ranting and raving, and he was like spitting, and I believed him. I was like, goodness gracious, this guy is like intense.
If your son is safe,
I will find him!
And I loved it. Didn't feel like overacting. Felt like he was great for the part. Now, immediately in the scenes of Krypton, I saw a lot of shaky camera action, and I wasn't a fan of that. I didn't like it. It was to the point where I was like, whoa, like I had to step back. I was like, why are they shaking the camera so much? So I was not a fan of that. It did lose points for that. I didn't like that. And yes, the color tones, I think that's one of the biggest negative things that people notice. It was for me. Just everything was dull. The reds weren't really red. The blues weren't really blues. No real yellows in the suit. And so, yeah, I know it's different. It's evolved. It's a different look. It's getting with the times. And I understand that. But it didn't do it for me, the color. I would have wanted the normal shades that we see all the time. Maybe, I don't know, maybe played with a little bit, but not this dark tone. I honestly, as the movie went along, I kind of forgot about it, but in the beginning, it just really bugged me. There is this message of hope, which I do like. It's throughout the film, and again, some people maybe don't like that, and it was cheesy, but I feel that Superman always had that idea of like hope, of like justice, of like honor. That
the S stand for?
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
There was this Christopher Reeve cheesiness. Yes, Lois, and so forth. Wasn't necessarily making fun of himself, but it was that type. And this brought a little more dark tone to Superman. I think people didn't like that. He was very human, which is weird because he's obviously not a human. There was a lot of humanity in him, although he was raised by two human beings. So I guess that humanity seeped into him. It's his dilemma of being a human, being an alien, being different. Kevin Costner, his father, of course, Mr. Kent, letting him know that he has a special mission in this life.
Can I just keep pretending I'm your son?
You are my son.
What is his mission? And the other big thing that I noticed, I studied religion in my grad school. I was a religion theology teacher, and very apparent all the motifs to Jesus. Now, I know that bothered some people. It may have bothered some people. It didn't bother me. I thought it was interesting because these tones have always been in it. I know Superman, basically Jor-El, the Jewish tones, I know that. But the movie had all these Christian tones in it. I wasn't bothered by it. I thought it was cool. It was a little bit over the top, but I think it was always alluding to what Superman was. He's like the superhero, which he is. He comes back, he fights evil, he defeats evil, and eventually he dies, quote unquote. He resurrects. I mean, it's the Jesus story. It is what it is. Jesus was Jewish after all, historically. I'm not going to get too much into that, but I didn't really have a problem with it. I do understand why people would have a problem with it. Maybe like too religious-y. I just want to see Superman. I get it. The music was epic. I think the music was great. That scene where Superman just has his fist to the ice and everything starts shaking, I think that was awesome. I think they copied that in The Last Jedi, like that same feel of Rey. But no, like seeing Superman do that are the visuals that I've always wanted to see.
Accomplish wonders.
And so I was very much happy with it. It was a little CGI heavy in the fight between General Zod and Superman. Very CGI heavy, very, very plastic, rubbery looking. That was one of the dislikes as well, but from what they were trying to do visually, they had no other choice. And 2013 CGI isn't as great as 2018 CGI. There's also a beauty in Jor-El explaining his story.
Goodbye, my son. Our hopes and dreams travel with you.
I think it was really good. There's the idea of the society as a whole is freedom. Like I said, there were a lot of just themes in the movie, and I think that goes back to being well written. I think it was really well written. Christopher Nolan had a hand in that, as well as David Goyer. He also penned The Dark Knight, so it's like the same people, it's the same flavor, although of course I like this film a lot less than The Dark Knight. Believe it or not, I'm a UFO guy. Like, I like that concept, whether it's real or not, I don't know, but I've always been a little interested in it, and the fact of UFOs in here, like, I like that. I think that was, I don't know if it was creative or not, but I like that. It settled nice with me. Again, I could understand where people don't like it, but for me it worked. For me it did. Buy all the IHOP ads. Like, I get it. If you're sponsored by IHOP, I understand, but it was just a little annoying on that side. I would have wanted to see less pancakes. There was a really smart use of cuts and things like alert, because something was happening. It's like the world is in danger. Alert, alert. But that was the ink cartridge that had to be, like, all these nice little cuts. That was smartly done. That you have to think that through. And so that to me worked. A lot of sound was used in a very positive way to create emotion in me, and so I rather enjoyed that. I think it was, again, well thought out. Whether it was some people's style or not, I think that it just depends what kind of clothes you like, what kind of movie style you like. I like the flashbacks to the childhood. I like that it was kind of out of order. It wasn't chronological, and that was great. There was a shot of Superman in the desert with the military. It was just beautiful. The composition of some of these shots was great. Like, it was just beautiful to look at. And it wasn't, these parts were not CGI mostly, it was like just composition. It was just beautiful to look at, like a nice, beautiful picture, and I liked that. I enjoyed that. And there was something really unique. There was a point where Superman went to save Lois, and he usually flies with his fist out, but this time his like fists were out even more. There was a more expression of him, go out and save her, like super light speed. And so I did like that little attention to detail. I don't know if people caught that, but I think that was really cool. Again, little things. To me, these are little things that helped, that worked. That's to me what makes a movie better than it really is. The little things, the things that are thought out, the little attention to detail makes all the difference. Then there was a fight on a satellite. I think that was creative because, Superman kind of always goes into space and they fought out there. And I don't know, I think that was pretty well done. Also, when I was young, I used to watch the Superman Adventures, and the voice of the guy who did that is very similar to Henry Cavill's voice. And I think that was good. Like, I like that. I like when voices are similar, and it's really annoying when they cast an iconic character like this and they're so much different from the actor than the source material. Like, I think that worked. It was good. He was the right casting choice. It fit the movie. And then, not to spoil the ending, well, kind of, I don't think this is really spoiling it, but the fact of him kind of finding a job as a journalist, and he puts the glasses on, he gets a little goofy, and that's kind of how it ends. I like that. I'm glad that the movie wasn't an hour of him talking as a journalist and being with his glasses and being dorky. Like, I know that's part of it. Maybe people wanted to see that. I'm glad it got into the story. The story seemed to progress along. I think the pacing was really good. It wasn't really slow at some points. Like, it was changed up enough where I was interested in what was going to happen. And then when it was at that part of the story for too long, it went back. I had no problem with the idea of, little spoiler alert here, of Mr. Kent saying, hey, don't come and save me. Like, I understand it was a nobility there. And Superman, Jor-El, he made his decision. Clark Kent made a decision. He could have gone opposite his father, but I think that kind of shows the man that he was. He was a man of principle, a man of morals. If his father said do something, he'd do it. That's just it. He wasn't a rebel. He was not a rebel. The fact that he, again, spoiler alert, that he kills General Zod at the end and snaps his neck, I think that's brilliant. The fact that he screams out, he didn't want to do that. He was forced. He's becoming something that he wasn't expecting to be. His father said, you're going to turn into something to save the world. You're going to be a force of good, but you have a choice there. And I think he made the best choice there for him, and he has to deal with the consequences. I felt that reality, and so I enjoyed that. I have no choice but to give this movie an A-. I enjoyed it. I'd enjoy it, love it or hate it. I want to know your comments down below, but tell me why. Give me your why. I told you I loved so much. I loved the pacing, the composition. I lost points on that color scheme. I lost points on the shaky camera stuff. Even the CGI at the end, while the shots were cool, it was kind of heavy. I would have wanted less than that. Would have wanted more close-up shots of stuff happening, but it is what it is. I enjoyed it. I think it's the best Superman film I've seen myself, but I want to know your thoughts. Don't forget, guys and gals, to stay hopeful, but also look at my other movie videos, movie reviews, and as I always say at the end, be hopeful.